Hello. So, this is going to be the other part of the 101 Dalmatians discussion. This one is going to be focusing on the live action 101 Dalmatians thing. So, that would be the 101 Dalmatians from 1996 with Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil, 102 Dalmatians in, I think it was 2001. 2001, with Glenn Close again as Cruella de Vil, the sequel. The Descendants stuff and the Once Upon a Time stuff is what we are going to be discussing in this video. But before we go into that, I think I need to have at least a slight costume change. I have black and white, but I think I need a few other things. So, I happened to find a costume jewelry necklace worthy of Cruella de Vil, or at least for this case. And I can't do black and white hair, but I have a nice feathered boa. She wears feathers at various points throughout both of the movies, so this work as well. It's also red and black. She tends to wear red and black, or black and white. And I managed to capture one of the little puppies. Clearly this is a statue. Had this for a long time. It's very cute. It's going to go into the background. See that? Okay, good. We'll see how long the boa lasts. It's a little fidgety. This is actually from New Orleans. I've had it for about 12 years. It did not come from Mardi Gras. I would have been too young. So, 101 Dalmatians. Live action. Here we go. So, first up of the list, as I said, is 101 Dalmatians. Came out in 1996. Has Cruella de Vil. Of course, it has Cruella de Vil. Has Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil. And as I showed you in the previous video, she has some amazing costumes throughout these movies. Fabulous costumes that I love. So we get the slight updated premise for 101 Dalmatians. It takes place in the year that it's set in, so it takes place in 1996. Or it takes place in the year that it's made in, so 1996 takes place in London. We have Jeff Daniels, who you would probably more recognize from Dumb and Dumber. Haven't seen it, but I know that they're funny, I guess. I don't know. Not my type of humor, but if you like it, then that's fine. We have Jeff Daniels as Roger Dearly, as he's called. Instead of being a musician or a songwriter, he is a video game designer, and he's working on developing a video game based around Dalmatians. It makes sense. He has Pongo, and Pongo is very good at taking care of him and everything. And then of course we also have Anita, who is played by Jolie Richardson. Off the top of my head, I couldn't remember what else she was in, although I possibly could have seen her in a few other things. If I'm not 100% sure, go Google her or whatever. And then we have pretty much it's the same, casting call as the original movie, or so. We have nannies in there as well. She was kind of was like Anita's nanny when she was a kid, because Anita comes from a very well-to-do family. She is a fashion designer who works at the House of de Vil, which is run by Cruella de Vil. She of course has Purdy. Roger has Pongo, as I said. And then we have Joan Plowright plays Nanny. And then we have Horus and Jasper. And if they look familiar, that is because Horus is Hugh Laurie, aka House. Jasper is Hugh Laurie. And Horus is Mark Williams, aka Mr. Weasley from Harry Potter. Rory's dad, if you watch Doctor Who. Or if you're familiar with PBS, he has a show on PBS called Father Brown, where he plays a post-World War II mystery-solving priest. I don't know. But yes, we have them. There's a few other characters. There's a John Shepard Sharpnel plays a guy whose name's Mr. Skinner, who is in charge of skinning the animals that are used to make the very fabulous outfits that Cruella wears. And then Tim McInnery, I think is how you pronounce it, is Alonzo, who is Cruella's kind of butler, chauffeur, attendant type thing that is very loyal to her for whatever reason. She's rather abusive to him, but whatever. And of course, we have the bit where, Anita is actually she's a fashion designer, as I said. She designs a dress that is inspired by Perdita's coat in regards to, all the Dalmatian spots and everything. And Cruella sees it, and Cruella very much likes it. Which is not a good thing. And Cruella becomes rather obsessive. We don't get quite the same cute meet that we get between Anita and Roger in the original movie. It's, as I said, it takes place in London. So what happens is both Anita and Roger tend to use their bikes to get around. And of course, they tend to take their dogs with them a lot of times. So they have the, Pongo and Perdita kind of end up, liking each other, and via lots of antics on Pongo and then Perdita's part, resulting in the two of them having I wouldn't say cute meet, considering that that Anita kind of whacks Roger upside the head with her purse that has bricks in it. I love the live action. As I said, I rewatched it. I watched both live action ones, and I very much love them. They're very, very good. They meet, they end up, cute meet, and end up kind of, falling in love that way. And then, of course, we have the wedding, and we have, like, the dog wedding. So we have, like, Anita and Roger getting married inside the church, and, like, all of their guests. And then outside the church, we have, like, Pongo and Perdita, and then a whole bunch of dogs, which is just so cute. So, dogs. And then, of course, we have them moving in together, and Cruella is not happy about this. One of the subplots that they have in the movie is that there was a white Siberian tiger at the zoo that was found skinned. And they can't find the skin, and Cruella has the skin. Mr. Skinner had it, and he skinned the tiger, and then Cruella, Jasper, and Horus deliver it to her. And she then has the tiger skin to make into a coat. No. What ends up happening is they kind of figure out that, they think Perdita's having puppies. And then, Anita finds out that she's pregnant. So you have these cute scenes, or this cute scene of doctor's office, vet's office, Roger standing outside the doctor's office. It's right next to the vet's office, and Pongo sitting outside the vet's office. Like, Anita and Perdita are both inside the vet. Anita's inside the doctor, Perdita's inside the vet, and it's like, okay, they're both good. They're baby, puppies and baby. It's all healthy and everything. So we have a lot of that funny stuff, and we get Cruella shows up, and she's like, where are the puppies? The whole kind of thing that happens in the original movie. She was like, where are the puppies? It's like they're not here yet. They'll be a little, it'll be a little while before they get here. And I think that ends up resulting in, I don't remember if that's when it resulted in Anita quitting or not, but then later on, a few weeks later, they have the puppies, and the whole thing still happens with, Lucky, the little stillborn, that, they have to, get the puppy better and everything by rubbing it and everything. And Roger is just like a complete and utter mess. I think I think Jeff Daniels did a great job playing Roger. But like he makes a comment to Pongo of, Roger makes a comment to Pongo, if I'm this nervous when it's your puppies, how am I going to be when it's my baby? Which is just cute. They go through all of that, and Cruella shows up, and it's a little bit more of an intense scene between her and Anita, because Anita works for her in this case, as opposed to the other one where they're just friends. It's Anita works for her, and it ends up resulting in the big shouting match, and Cruella, it's like 7,500 pounds for all of the puppies, and that's a no. And of course, she leaves in a huge, big screaming match and everything, and she leaves, and then of course she, is, gathering up all these other little Dalmatian puppies, because she of course decides she wants to make this the dress that Anita designed. new. Which, on that note, the feathered boa is coming off because it's a little staticky. There we go. The dog's can have the boa. I'm keeping the necklace on though because I very much like it. Although I might have to find something else that I can use this necklace for. Well, it's a very Cruella-esque necklace since I don't have anything else. And this is a Darth Vader shirt, but it was the only black and white shirt that I had. It's the only thing that I had that worked. I don't have any shirts with Cruella on it. So we get, the giant screaming match and Cruella leaves and everything. And then, they have the puppies and the puppies get bigger, of course. And they end up naming all of them. They have a couple of the names are the same from the original movie. Like, they still have Lucky and everything. But they have a few others. Like, there's a Dipstick whose, tail is, partly black on the end. There's Jewel who has, her spots formed and, a collar around her and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun stuff that they do with that. Throughout the course of the movie, we have, we get introduced to Jasper and Horus, of course. They're around a little bit more than in the original. They're more henchmen for Cruella, of course. And we, eventually at one point when Anita and Roger go out, that's when, Cruella has Jasper and Horus strike. And, of course, they take all the puppies. The puppies get a few bites in on Jasper and Horus. And of course, they're all taken to the DeVille Manor, where they're all the other puppies that make up the 99 are all there, and they're gonna all get skinned and everything is what's going to happen to them. We get a different version of the Twilight Bark in this. It's still kind of the same concept of the Twilight Bark, but it's more. There's a dog that sees. A couple of dogs witness, Jasper and Horus leaving Anita and Roger's house with the bag full of puppies, and via them doing so much barking, and the puppies are barking in the bag, and the dog, of course, picks up on this. That this, I don't remember what kind of a dog it is. It's not a sheep dog, which is another type of dog. I do not remember what it is called. But this is what it looks like. If you know what this dog is called, fine. I don't. As we've deduced from Lady and the Tramp. And the first Dalmatians video, I don't know all the dog breeds. I know some, but not all of them. It's this dog. It kind of ends up following the puppies, and we get the whole Twilight Bark sequence. So it's dogs barking all over the kingdom and everything, or not all over the kingdom, all over London, and spreading out and everything, and so the dogs and the other animals on the farms. Kind of end up working together, and they kind of figure out where the puppies are, and they figure out, they're hell hall. None of the animals, they don't do the Disney thing of the animals can talk in this one. It's just more the Disney magic is that the animals are smarter than you would think. And we get all the animals working together to find out where the puppies are, and they lead them there, and then Pongo and Perdita escape because they hear all the dogs barking, saying kind of so we know where your puppies are. So then they go, and Anita and Roger, of course, are trying to figure out where Pongo and Perdita went now after the puppies are missing. And we get the dogs still interacting with each other, and it's so adorable how the dogs interact with each other in this. And Anita and Roger interacting with their dogs and with each other. Again, I very much love how they show these things with the couples. As I stated with the original 101 Dalmatians one, I very much like Anita and Roger's relationship in regards to it feeling real. And in this one, they do a great job of making it feel real with the way that the characters interact with each other. And Pongo and Perdita are so cute because, of course, they are. And the puppies are cute too. Puppies. I know. I'm weird. Get used to it. If you're watching these videos by now, if you're watching these videos and you haven't figured out that I'm a little weird by now, I'm sorry. You're a little bit weird too if you're watching this, because you're sitting here watching a girl wearing a very fancy-ish costume jewelry necklace, wearing a Darth Vader shirt with a bunch of dogs behind her, anime posters, talking about 101 Dalmatians with swords in the background. So something drew you here. But we get a different slight version or slight shifts in here and such of, the dogs are working to, of course, all the dogs and the animals work together to, help Pongo and Perdita get to find their way to Hell Hall or Deville Manor, whatever you want to call it, find their way there. And they kind of, mess with Jasper and Horus's truck, so it won't work. They end up messing with, like, Cruella's car when she shows up. There's a skunk that kind of, takes the place of Cruella's bag, which is hilarious. And, they get the puppies out of the manor. They still have to fight Jasper and Horus. They, to fight Skinner, who is just not a nice person. They work their, the puppies and the dogs and the animals all work together to protect them. Of course, Pongo and Perdita get all their puppies back, and all the other puppies are there. And then we get Jasper and Horus. In regards to this is where I say it goes a little bit more towards Home Alone territory, because Jasper and Horus get dumped into a frozen lake, get, a moose dropped on their, well, not an actual moose, but like a trophy bull's head, something like that, gets dropped onto Jasper, and Horus gets knocked into a frozen lake, and it goes very Home Alone-y with what happens to those two, and kind of to Cruella as well, because she ends up getting, she gets dropped, she gets hay hay covering all over, she gets, because she ends up in like a barn at one point, she gets like hay all over her, and then she gets like molasses all over her. I think it's molasses, or it's something that's in the barn that's very gooey and sticky, and it gets all over her, and she ends up in mud, and then she ends up in caca. And they have the police out looking for the puppies, of course, and like Anita was like, and she remembered the dress that she designed, so she gave that to the police as like evidence of where or she told that to the police, so then they search Cruella's house and they find the drawing, and because Cruella stole it from her, and so we get all this other stuff, and so it's a little bit more of a realistic of the way things would have gone, I guess. But of course, Cruella just goes through so much, and it's just funny, and Glenn Close did an amazing job as Cruella. And here are just a couple of the outfits that she wears throughout the movie. Here's one. Hey, I said they were awesome. Another one. Another one. And I think I have one more, so this one. If I have another one, I guess, I don't remember how many I had exactly for that one, because she has great costumes in the second movie as well, but I think that's about what I had for the first movie. I'll just put in my favorites. But they're just fabulous outfits that she wears. Fabulous outfits, and fabulous just everything that she has with her. I will give her that. The woman has great taste. Her morality, on the other hand, is a bit non-existent. We end up getting a whole bunch of, Jasper and Horus getting, very much abused throughout the course of this. Although they do a great job of, being, they're very similar to the, they get to be kind of the cartoon-ish villains at times, and Glenn Close, I was pretty, I watch it on Disney Plus, so there's not a whole lot of ability to be able to watch bonus features on Disney Plus. So I didn't have the ability to watch whether or not, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff where they, like, talk about the making of the movie. I know that they have a fair amount of the movie, like, some of the puppies are, of course, computer animated in various scenes, because I don't think having, 99 puppies on a set all the time when you have to film those scenes is the best idea. So I'm sure a fair amount of the puppies were computer animated at times. But throughout the course of the movie, or throughout, the end part of the movie, we get, Cruella gets captured, Jasper and Horus gets captured, Mr. Skinner gets captured, and they get all the puppies back to where they're supposed to be. Well, they get all the puppies into the, they get all the puppies, and Pongo and Perdita, of course, because they showed up and everything. And the dog from the beginning, or the dog that had first seen the puppies being taken, he kind of helped follow and help get the puppies out a lot, and kind of at one point he has to bring up the rear, and they have the police have all the dogs and everything, like Cruella and the others are in the, well, what happens with Cruella is, first, so they get her into the she's just as verbally abusive to Jasper and Horus as she is in the original, if not more. She ends up in, they get her into the back of the police van, whatever, and Jasper and Horace are skinning her there, and she's just like berating all of them. She's covered in just, hay and molasses and caca and all this stuff, and mud or whatever. And not a good look on you, Cruella. Not a good look. And she's throwing a tantrum, and she picks up what she thinks is her purse. It's the skunk, and then it sprays all of them. And then of course they're arrested and all sent off to wherever. But what happens is all the police have have 100 of the dogs. They have 98 puppies, and then Pongo and Perdita, and they're still missing one puppy. And there's like, we have 100 dogs into the walkie-talkie to inform whoever else where they're taking them. And we get the dog kind of leading Lucky back, because Lucky was kind of the one that got, unfortunately, kind of left behind. Well, not left behind, he was asleep, and then he got caught up and all this stuff, but they still get it back. And the officer, of course, remembers, make that 101. And of course they get all the puppies and Pongo and Perdita back to Anita and Roger. And Roger and Anita are like, well, you got our puppies back for us. Thank you very much and everything. But what else can we do to repay you and everything for getting our puppies back to the police? And the I'm assuming he's like the lead sergeant or the lead officer or whatever. He's like, well, your puppies are the only one with identification. None of the other puppies had any, and we're not having any luck trying to track them down, probably because they were the ones that like Anita bought, or not Anita, that Cruella bought. Yeah, that doesn't go well. Yeah, and they're like, okay, well, how about we take them? It's just like, what's a few more puppies? So I was like, yeah, there's a large difference between 15 plus 2 parents, so that's 17. And 201. There's a big difference there. But they take them in, and throughout the course of the movie, we see Roger trying to develop a better villain character for his game. So he ends up having Cruella be the basis of the character that he uses in the game as the villain that the dogs have to kind of go up against. So he sells the video game. And then they make a ton of money on that, and I don't remember if it's because I don't remember if they bought Cruella's manor, the Cruella's big manor house or whatever that she had in the country or what, but they buy basically a castle, giant manor house castle, whatever, and they cover it in spots, and then they have their baby, of course, and then it's like a year later, and they have their baby. And Pongo and Perdita are there, and all of the other all the original 15, the original 99 puppies are all kind of growing up, and they have puppies of their own, so they have their Dalmatian plantation, and so it's a lot of fun with that. And, like, they cover the entire cast of spots, which I just think is funny. I just think that's so funny, and this is what it looks like. And then Anita's thing like when they're pulling out, she's like, Roger, I'm pregnant again, so it's implying that they're gonna have another kid. Then we get into 102 Dalmatians, which I think I got the date right at the beginning of the movie, came out in 2000. We have Glenn Close returning as Cruella de Vil. They're an actor, Gerard Depardieu, plays Jean-Pierre Lepelt, who is a furrier, as in he works with fur. And he, at one point, had assuming been like an associate of Cruella's, but then, because of events of the movie, they're not at the time. The premise of the 102 Dalmatians is that it takes place 3 years after the original movie. Cruella's been in prison, and via kind of experimentation done on her, I'm assuming willingly, she willingly did this. Of a certain type of electroshock therapy and certain things helps prey and predator become friends, because it makes the predator not want to attack the prey. And so she went through this treatment and became good and liked puppies. So we have this. And she, gets to go out on probation, and the lady that gets her case actually has Dipstick from the original movie. Has a grown-up version of Dipstick, and he has a mate, and they have puppies near the beginning of the movie. The lady who is her probation officer is her name's Chloe Simon. Who is it that she's played by? She was played by Alice Evans. I don't really think she has anything big besides that. I could be wrong. Throughout the course of the movie, Cruella tells her, "Stop calling me Cruella, call me Ella." Cruella sounds so cruel. So she's like, "Call me Ella." And Alonzo is there to greet her when she's granted parole, and he gets her a dog. One of the, loopholes, or not loopholes, but one of the parts of her probation is that she has to do 500 hours of community service, and she also has to, if she breaks any of the rules or whatever, then the remainder of her fortune, which is £8 million, goes to the dogs' homes in Westminster. And there's only one dog home in Westminster, and that is owned by Kevin Shepherd, who is played by, I always mispronounce his name. I apologize to the actor. Ian Griffin. He's the guy that plays Mr. Fantastic in the two Fantastic movies that came out in the mid-2000s. So this is him. As I said, I apologize because I can never pronounce his name correctly. I don't know why, I just can't. There are certain names that I just cannot pronounce correctly. His is one of them. Tell me a Japanese character's name enough times, and eventually I'll be able to say it the correct way. His name, for some reason, I cannot pronounce correctly because I haven't heard it enough times pronounced correctly to be able to say it right. Sorry to him. But yeah, he plays this guy that runs this dog shelter and everything, and they're like the only ones left, and they're like on their last legs, and they have like a ton of dogs there. And they have a Scarlet Macaw that's called Waddlesworth that thinks it's a Rottweiler. And he's voiced by Eric Idle, so I guess it's Disney going, well, we need to have a talking animal in this. We can't have the dog talk. We'll have a macaw talk. And we'll have it voiced by Eric Idle. Because reasons. The parrot's funny, so that's fine. Alonzo is still part of the movie. Him and Cruella seem to be on better terms at this point, but one of the things that Cruella had him do at the beginning of the movie was when she got home, she had him lock away all of her fur. All the fur that she had in the house. He locked it away in this kind of, I guess, weird dungeon type thing that was in her mansion, because she had a weird dungeon type thing in her mansion, along with the drawing of the puppy outfit. Ended up there. Locked all that away and like boarded it up, and like it's in like a secret room and such. And quite honestly, I will give it to Cruella, Ella. She does at least try in the beginning. She tries. She finds the dog shelter via interaction with Chloe, who's her probation officer that has Dipstick, who is grown up, has puppies of their own. Has 3 puppies. Domino, Little Dipper, who just kind of looks like a smaller version of his dad, and Oddball, who's a little female puppy that doesn't have any spots and is obsessed with having spots. And via interaction, she keeps trying to get spots, which is just like a running gag in the movie. That kind of results in a few things. But what happens is Cruella ends up going to the dog shelter, and she, kind of invests in stuff there. And she honestly, at the beginning, is trying to be better, because whatever it was that the doctor had done to her made her better. And unfortunately, that kind of backfires, because one day when Cruella goes to her, probation officer, it was revealed that, the earlier scene of the movie revealed that the chiming of Big Ben in London, which is quite loud and can be heard for quite a distance, can undo the therapy that the predators went through. And unfortunately, Chloe's office is very close to Big Ben. And Cruella comes and visits, and via things that happen with Oddball, the Big Ben goes off, and Cruella hears it, and she goes through this kind of bit where like the bongs make her hair pop up at like different angles and stuff like that, because she had like because like in the original movie, of course, her hair is all over the place, and in this one her hair is very slicked back all the time, very neat, and different hairdos. So it was like this was one of the outfits and one of the hairdos, her dog that Alonzo gives her, this one as well, and she's trying. But that, unfortunately, as I said, backfires, because the donging, ringing of Big Ben kind of undoes what had been done. And she decides that she's going to, well, she basically snaps via the ringing of Big Ben. She snaps. And she has kind of this mass hallucination. Well, it's not a mass hallucination, it's just her imagining spots everywhere. And she's like, Cruella's back! Because it's like her nails get pointy again, her clothes even pop up and get pointy, her hair's all over the place again. So she has to keep up the act of being good. Well, in reality, it's like, okay, we're going to steal all these different puppies and everything. And what she decides is, when she gets back to the house, when Alonzo gets her back to the house, she, gets into her furs, and she's so happy. And then she sees the dog picture for the dress. And she's like, those dogs cost me 3 years of my life. And now I'm going to get back at them. I use kind of the exact quote at the end of this video for the quote about the movie, but for the audio quote at the end. But so I'm not going to do the whole thing now. Does involve a little bit of shouting. But what happens is, so she decides, okay, she goes to Le Pelt, who's the guy that was like the furrier that she had been originally wanting to protest against, but now she's going to him to help her, be able to make her coat. And he just basically worships her and keeps flirting with her and everything. And eventually we end up getting Chloe, who is the probation officer, and Kevin, who is, of course, the guy that's in charge of the dog home where Cruella is. The two of them end up interacting quite a bit, along with a couple of the other dogs end up interacting with Dipstick and his puppies, and Macaw and everything. The Macaw thinks it's a dog. Macaw literally through the whole movie thinks it's a dog, which is just funny. I think it was just like, Eric Idle, I'm gonna have fun at this part. Go right ahead. And we get a lot of antics, and of course those puppies end up getting captured, and unfortunately Kevin gets framed for it by Cruella, and so he's in jail, and then he escapes, and just a whole bunch of stuff happens. And then they have, the puppies are taken on, the puppies are on a train to get taken to France, where Le Pelt's factory is. And throughout the whole movie, Alonzo is just getting more and more abused by Cruella. He's got like broken or cracked up hands and bumps and everything, and it's not good for him. And he at some point kind of snaps, more just because he doesn't like the way Le Pelt keeps flirting with Cruella. And what ends up happening is they get to France, and we get a funny bit of like the dogs having to run around and everything, and like Chloe and Kevin escaped, and Chloe is there, and they end up getting following where the dogs are, and they try to help all the puppies escape. And Oddball and Waddlesworth, the parrot, Macaw, the Rottweiler, had ended up kind of escaping at some point. So now they're, of course, Oddball's trying to save her family and all the other puppies. So it's a lot of that. And eventually the puppies end up, of course, they get the puppies out, and then like Le Pelt's factory is right next to a bakery, so there's like a big moment in the bakery that's very similar to, Cruella basically gets turned into a giant cake and then arrested, and Le Pelt's arrested, and she loses all of her money, and all the money would go to the dogs' homes. And that goes directly to Kevin's dog home. And so then all of the dogs are better now. or the dog home has money and everything, and Cruella's locked up, and Lapelt's locked up, and Alonzo doesn't get locked up, even though he's basically an accomplice throughout the entire thing. By technicality, he should be locked up as well, but he kind of turned on them at the end. I'm assuming he kind of like turned state's evidence or something like that. And throughout the course of the movie, Oddball was obsessed with getting spots. So at the end of the movie, we get it where she looks like she's got grease on her, so they're trying to wipe the grease off of her, and like some of it's not coming off, and it's like actual spots are coming in on Oddball, which is just cute. Okay, so that's in the live action. Just if I didn't do the best of job of translating everything, but just Glenn Close, awesome as Cruella. Both movies, does a great job. The movies are fun. Go and watch them. I guess these kind of turn into I'm gonna find it very hilarious if on any of these channels or in any of these videos if Disney Plus is being advertised, because it's not gonna surprise me if it is, but if it's not ever advertised on any of my Disney videos, and it's just like, I'm sorry, Disney, you missed out on a very at least decent marketing ploy there for free advertisement. For perfectly placed advertisement. I don't know exactly. We'll find out what happens with that. But then we get into the rest of the live action stuff. So we're gonna do Once Upon a Time and then Descendants. So in Once Upon a Time, as I said back in the Pinocchio video, Jiminy Cricket, who is Archie, has a dog named Pongo, who is supposed to be Pongo from 101 Dalmatians. So we have Archie and Pongo here. Pongo doesn't really end up doing too much throughout the course of the movies, or throughout the course of Once Upon a Time. He's just kind of there and cute. But what ends up happening is we get more of the Cruella stuff, Cruella's backstory. For Cruella, her backstory is that her mother had been kind of on the, I'm assuming, on the abusive side. And what happens is, the author, who's the one that's supposed to write down all of the different stories for the fairy tale, ended up finding her, and he kind of fell for her. And he ends up giving her the power to be able to control animals, because her mother was very abusive to her, and she couldn't leave because her mother had these very, mean dogs that would attack Cruella if she tried to leave. I don't remember why her mother was cruel or why her mother was so bad or whatever, but she ends up using the power to make the dogs attack her own mother, if I remember correctly. Again, it's been a long time since I've watched Once Upon a Time. Gonna get to working on those soon for rewatching everything, and at some point I may end up making more videos where I talk a little bit more about some of the Once Upon a Time things, or like maybe I make an addendum to some of the things that I've said here in some of these videos as I watch through things. So we'll see what happens with that. But we get Cruella ends up having this power, and she ends up, she does end up interacting with Dalmatian puppies at various points in time throughout the show. She ends up using her power to, at some point, manipulate Maleficent in her dragon form. She can use it to control, animals and everything. Her, along with Maleficent and Ursula, kind of had Rumple and Regina help them find the author, so that way they could use the author to try to get all of them their happy endings. I don't remember if Cruella got her happy ending or not, at least in the alternate world, or if it was simply she ended up dying, because I know at some point that Cruella dies because I think she's shot by Emma, because she's like, basically Emma has to choose between either Cruella's gonna push Henry off a cliff, or Emma has to shoot Cruella, and Emma shoots Cruella to protect Henry. And again, it's been a while since I've watched that, but in the real world, when the curse had done for Regina, Cruella had ended up being married to a rich man and everything, and and then at some point he gets attacked by the FBI or whatever. So then she leaves, and she still has her fabulous coat. So we have Cruella here in her very fabulous coat, and such, and she can control animals and everything. And I do not remember, as I said, whether or not, I know she dies, and then when they end up going to the underworld, they find out that she is kind of in charge of the underworld, or she takes charge of the underworld at one point, and she is for some reason dating David's evil twin brother James, because reasons. Um, there's not a whole lot else that happens with her after that's finished. As I said, I do not remember what her I don't remember if she ended up in the alternate world or not, or if like the alternate world ended up happening after Cruella died or before Cruella died, so she got some of it, but I don't remember. um we get a lot of, and when the others go down to hell because they're trying to save Hook's life, or trying to bring Hook back from the dead, Henry goes with them, and Henry is revealed to be able to be the next author at this point, so she tries to convince Henry that he can use his power as the author to try to help his mother, or try to help people. And Henry doesn't do that. He just becomes the regular author the way that he's supposed to be. There's not too much more with that. Deal with her. She dating, evil twin brother. Not too much with that. I don't really know too much besides that. And then we get into Descendants. And this is Cruella and Descendants. Again, great costume. She's banished to the Isle of the Lost. She has a son whose name is Carlos. As I mentioned back in the Cinderella video, one of the live action Cinderella video, Carlos is ends up dating Jane, who is the daughter of fairy godmother. On the Isle of the Lost, what it is that Cruella had Carlos, and she treats him more like a slave or a servant than a son. So she's not very nice to him and ever. And so Carlos, she basically raised him to think that all dogs were horrible beasts that would just attack whoever. And it's just not good. So the first time that Carlos interacts with a dog, who's just this little mutt that's named Dude that lives on campus, Carlos, via Ben explains to Carlos, it was like, no, he's not gonna hurt you. He's just a dog that lives on campus. His name's Dude, and Carlos and Dude bond. And in the second movie, Carlos, Dude is kind of the catalyst for, Dude is kind of the catalyst for Carlos to want to be good. And then in the second movie is when he starts to show that he has feelings for Jane, and he asked Mal to make him a kind of a truth gummy that would allow him to be able to, tell Jane how he feels. Dude ends up eating the truth gummy, so Dude can now talk. Which comes in handy later on in the movie. Sometimes handy, sometimes not. And then the second movie, or in the third movie, Carlos and Jane are very happy together, and he gave her a necklace that's like, they do like the couples names combined. So it was Carlos and Jane, so it was Jarlos, which is just cute. And there's like, they're so cute. Most of the couples that happen in Once Upon a Time, or in Descendants, are very cute. So those are also quite cute. Carlos himself doesn't seem to have magic, although he does seem to be quite good at fencing, and he does seem to get better at other sports throughout the course of time that they are at Oridon Prep. Again, I haven't seen the animated series, but I know that the boy that played Carlos played him in that. I'm going to tell you now why I wish that they would be able to do a fourth Descendants movie, or at least a special where they show Ben and Mal getting married. And I mentioned this in the Maleficent video, when I talked about, or the Sleeping Beauty video, when I talked about Descendants, but that I would explain why when I got to the 101 Dalmatians. The reason that I don't think they would be able to do, or that I don't think they're going to do any more Descendants movies or shows, is because of the fact that, unfortunately, the actor that played Carlos, unfortunately, passed away a little while before, I believe, the third movie came out. And it was kind of released, I think it was released posthumously, or he died very shortly after it came out. And it wasn't from drugs, and he wasn't killed or anything like that. He had a seizure from whatever reason. He was found at his house unresponsive, unfortunately. And the cast and the crew were very, very sad by this and everything. And unfortunately, that resulted in, they were all very sad by this. But as a side effect, or as a counter, or as a side thing, that unfortunately I don't think they want to do any more Descendants movies, because he's played the role throughout everything, through all the 3 movies and through the animated series. And I think maybe unless they could find someone that would be able to play it the right way, I don't think they'd want to have that again. Have someone play him again. Just because, I mean, it's not that they can't do recasts on things, but sometimes they don't want to. Sometimes they just can't find someone else that they can work with. Sometimes it's not worth it enough to try to recast the character just to do this one other thing. Voices are a little bit different, but when it comes to like actually filming it, it's a little bit different. You can kind of recast someone that can do like a voice the right way, but looks the same and has the same mannerisms, is a bit of a different story. So I would like them to be able to do a Descendants 4, or at least like a special thing where they have Ben and Mal get married, and there's like something else that happens, but and like Carlos and Jane are there, of course. I would like that to be the case, but unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen, because of the fact that the Carlos actor has unfortunately passed away. I think the movie itself, Descendants 3, I do believe ended up being dedicated to him. It was at the beginning, I think it was dedicated to him, and then I think at the end it was dedicated to him. Unfortunately, the Disney Plus version does not have those on there, but I know that the DVD versions do, and that some of the, I think, on-demand stuff on like on demand on Disney might as well, but I could just be wrong on that. I know that they did dedicate the movie to him, which I think is very nice. So we get a lot of that. There's not too much else for Cruella to pop up in other things. I know they did like 101 Dalmatians video games, not Kingdom Hearts, but other video games where she pops up in that. But it's not too much beyond that. And she just wasn't, I mean, they use her in Once Upon a Time very rather well, but she's not like one of the ones that they could use in like Kingdom Hearts. Although that would be very interesting to, I guess, fight a giant monster that is like black and white and furry. I guess would have been good if they wanted to use her for something, but they don't, as far as I'm aware. She doesn't pop up in Kingdom Hearts. The puppies do, and Pongo and Perdita do, but she doesn't. So at the end of this, put my boa back on for the sign out. I'm sure you can see the necklace. I don't know if I can use the boa for anything else until like I get to like the Princess and the Frog video, because that takes place at Mardi Gras. But I have a lot of Mardi Gras masks, so I might wear like those throughout the video or something like that. But we'll see what happens with that. Next up, I believe is, I think the next one that's on the list for what I'll be talking about is, I want to say it's Aristocats. I think it's Aristocats. It's either Aristocats or it's Jungle Book. Because I don't think that it's I don't think it's Robin Hood yet. It shouldn't be to Robin Hood yet, or Winnie the Pooh yet. So I think it's either. I apologize if you're like squeaking or doors banging in the background. I think my mom's letting the dog out or something. I apologize for that. I can hear it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or if the mic's picking it up. But next up is either Aristocats or Jungle Book, I think. Or if not that, then it's the other way around. One of the two. So that'll be the next one. Thankfully, Aristocats doesn't really have anything outside of the original movie, because there's no Kingdom Hearts for Aristocats. There's no there's no Once Upon a Time, as far as I'm aware. There's no Descendants stuff for Aristocats. I think they make cameos in some stuff, but that shouldn't take too long to talk about. I think they pop up in House of Mouse at some point, but there's not too much besides that. So Aristocats might be a bit of a shorter video. This one's a little bit of a shorter video than normal. If you've been watching all the videos, it's a little bit of a shorter one in comparison to some of the other videos. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a very nice rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'm going to go catch myself a couple of puppies. Not really, I'm just going to go pet Rainy a bit for a while. I'm just going to go pet Rainy for a while. If I want a fur coat, it's just called, I hug Rainy while I'm wearing my coat, and it gets covered in fur. Because the dog sheds like there's no tomorrow, and it sticks to everything. Everything. So, sorry. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye! My Dalmatian puppy coat. The coat of dreams. The ultimate fur coat that was denied me by that canine cabal, for which I have lost 3 years of my life. Alonzo, we're going to make them pay.